Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now let's welcome your host, founder, and CEO of Women Talk, Bridget Lessard-Diel.
Diane Currie Sam was born a storyteller. Now owner of Be a Better Story, she helps women with their story. Diane is a speaking coach, helps women with their presentation design, and how to deliver an impactful story. Diane is also Women Talk Vancouver director. Today she shares with us how she was taken advantage of and how, like so many women, did not listen to that little voice inside. Let's listen to Diane's story.
I want to tell a story about a time I got taken advantage of, and I got screwed basically. And I want to talk about that because one of the things I'm doing right now is working with women on finding their voice. So I thought, I got to talk about a time I never had my voice. So this was back about 10 years ago, and I had a distribution company. So I was one of the largest sort of specialty distribution companies in Canada, and we sold all these products into retail stores. And I had my business partner. Now I was a full partner. She was a limited partner, but we were definitely, she owned shares of the company. We were in business together, and she was the main sales manager. And I had this strange feeling. So I was the manager. I was the overall CEO, kind of looking at the whole company. And I can remember one month, we had a whole bunch of shipments going out. And typically our policy was not to, we don't ship things until they're paid for, right? This is hard product that we had to purchase. And, we need the money coming in and we need a solid payment, right? So I watched a couple shipments go out, and I kind of knew in the back of my mind that we hadn't received any money from it. So but that wasn't my job. I wasn't the sales manager, right? So but I was the CEO, and I thought, what's with that? So I remember talking to her, and I asked her, I don't recall getting a payment for that. And I got this big story about how, don't worry about it, the money's being held up here and they've paid it, but it was something to do with, she had this whole big story about something to do with customs, and I could see her kind of, So I'm like, okay, so I put it there's something in the back of my mind that thinks there's something wrong here, right? But I don't say anything. It's that, again, the voice being shut down, right? Fear, worry, what is she going to say? What are people going to think? What's going to happen? Just didn't say anything. Then a couple weeks go by, and I notice another shipment going out, and I'm looking for that money, right? I'm like, where is it? So I talked to her again. And I remember walking down to the shipping people, and I said, no. She said, it's all fine. Don't worry about it. There's something to do with the bank accounts being transferred, and it's this. It was a whole different story. Number 2 now as to why this, but it's all okay. It's being handled. It's fine, right? You can see this in the back, and I'm thinking, I'm like, no, this isn't right. Like, we have one simple bank. Like, why is it not there? Like, it's one thing if it gets, that's in the back of my mind. But again, I'm worried. I don't say anything. But I feel like I'm stuck. Like I have to trust this person because they're my salesman. Like how could they, this is what they said. Oh, well, shipping is complicated. Sometimes these things happen. But in the back of my mind, there's that little thought like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? But this, just choking that unable to speak, right? Unable to actually own my truth and own my own power and speak about it. So then another week goes by, and there's this time it's a big shipment. Like, this is thousands of dollars, and I'm the money behind this company. So I've paid essentially for all these products, but we're going to make a profit on it. They're going to be sold. It's all going to be good. This is the biggest shipment we've had in ages. And I walked down into the shipping area, and I expected to see all those boxes there, right? But they were gone. And I knew that we hadn't received any money for it, which was, I'm like, that now this is like 3 times what those original smaller orders were, right? And there's no boxes there. And that sinking feeling, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, it's one thing, those 2 small orders. This is a massive order. And I walk up to the shipping person. I said, where's the bot? Like, why did this go out? She said, well, so-and-so told me, and it's all fine. And the same similar kind of story, right? So now I've got this, the sinking feeling that was so slowly sinking has now completely sunk. I walk back into my office, I shut the door, and I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Where is the money, right? So I talked to her. This time I have to do something, right? This is like, so I talked to her, and I get this story, same kind of story, like that this money's here, it's all coming, it's something to do with the currency exchange. It was like, no, this isn't right. So I got on the phone and I called up the customer directly now, because she was the salesperson. She was handling the customer service and the customer with that. And I said, hi, this is so. I just introduced myself. And what turned out to happen after I did the research was that my sales manager had told the customer to transfer the money into her own personal account. So she basically just took all the money for that shipment into her personal account and didn't send it to the business account. And it told all these clients this big story about, oh, we changed I'm like, we haven't changed our bank. Are you kidding? So then I'm in this state. You can just imagine, like, it's anger, a little bit of fear still, but the anger starting to now replace the fear, right? This sense of loss, this sense of hopelessness, like, what is like, if I don't get that money, the business is going to fold. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is not. But what? Now, I did end up firing her, but what? And the business did end up folding. So we didn't come back from that, right? But what astounded me as sort of a speaker and someone who's tries to deal with her own power and her own, was my inability to listen to my own voice. That had I done that, a month before, when the first small little errors started to come up, I wouldn't have now been. It was like it had to just slap me in the face, right? And then even then, when I fired her, I had to work up my courage. Instead of just, you have this image of yourself as, I'm just going to be this tough businesswoman and I'm going to go in there. But even then I was like, well, it was so difficult for me to own the fact that I owned that business and I was responsible for it. And I was her boss. And, it was just, and then that's the story I just wanted to share because of what we're doing now of helping women to speak up, right?
Do you want more out of Women Talk? Sign up for our Women Talk membership today. Receive discounts at all of our live events, talk on more stages, receive free monthly webinars, or host a webinar yourself. Join this powerful sisterhood we call Women Talk. Visit womentalk.ca/membership to join at 70% off for a limited time only.
And find their voice and not be afraid of saying what we think.
Yeah, I know.
And feel.
It's funny, even telling this, it feels of this sense of, a little bit of shame, a little bit of like, how could I have done that? Like, how could I have been so...
I was actually shaking my head because I just got home from Mexico last night. We walked in, we go shopping one day. We went because it's an all-inclusive. We're just there to relax, but we thought we'd buy little knickknacks. And we were so had because we walk in there. The guy was so good. He had us enthralled with the most amazing stories about the Mayan personality. And he had the four of us, me, my partner, and two kids, like picked perfectly. And we're just like, wow. And then he's saying, this is the mouse that goes with your, and blah, blah, blah. And then he grabs my card, gives it to the guy. And then we leave and we're like, how much should we pay? And then we have to do and we have to do the currency. And we're like, we paid $400.
Oh,
but, and it was just like, oh my God. And we can't really go, them, like, it's
it's
gone.
done. It's done. Yeah.
It's done. And you feel like such a fool.
Yeah.
Probably if it was a man, they would have gone back and like punched him right in the mouth. But you're in Mexico. Like, you gotta be careful. Like, what is it with us that we're so afraid sometimes, you know?
Well, and I think that's part of me wanting to tell that story, right? It's because when you get up on stage, and I've done a lot of speaking and, business consulting, and everybody thinks, or at least you try to get across this image of like, oh, I'm this great businesswoman and I know what I'm doing and stuff. But that was a story of me not really owning, being able to, there was something wrong. I knew there was something wrong. Why did I let that third one happen? Like, it's one thing to kind of give someone the benefit of the doubt for one thing, but when it happens twice, what was I doing that I was trying to avoid conflict, or I was trying to
do you think it's how we're raised? Like, guys are so not like that. Like, they walk in a room, not all men, but if you compare the two, there's a lot more guys that can walk up to a place and own the place, and then we can be way more qualified, and we just don't.
Yeah, and I can own the room when it comes to certain things, right? But when it came to my own self-worth and my own money and my own feelings of power around it, I collapsed, right? I just couldn't.
But we have to kind of build up to it. Like, I remember when I got into speaking, I talked to my coach and I said, I think I'd like to be a speaker. And she looked at me and she said, what? How many times a month do you speak? Do you get paid to speak? Like, what do you mean you want to be a speaker? If it was a guy, they speak once and they're now a speaker. Like, we just got this thing. What is it?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is, but I'm determined. I think it's partly how we're raised. I think you're right. I think there's, I want to have people, I want to believe the best in people. I want to have good relationships with people. So I do find it hard when I feel sort of, quote, betrayed about something, to really stand up to that. So there's all kinds of emotional reasons, and it's owning our own voices, our own power, our own ability to say something. Like, the Quaker expression, speak truth to power, right? To be able to, like, no, you know what, this is the truth. This is how I see it, right?
Yeah. So you speak for a living?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not my prime source of income. No, I mean, I do speak a lot. But I'm actually speech writer and presentation designer and coach for people who want to get out and speak. So yeah, I speak a lot about the topics of women wanting to speak and people in general wanting to have a message, like that their message matters, get your message out. But my main business is helping them to get their message out, right? Like creating their speeches, creating their presentations for them, working with them on getting, what the heck is your message?
Your
and how
story.
do you want? Yeah, and how do you want to say it, right? What's your story, and how do you want to say it, right?
What's the story that has impacted you the most throughout your career?
Oh gosh,
other than your own losing all that money.
Well, that was one. Gosh, I've got a million stories to tell. I like any kind of stories about redemption. So people who have had a hard struggle and one of my favorite movies is The Shawshank Redemption, right? Where this guy's down and out, he's been unjustly accused of something and he's kind of brought himself back out of things, right? Stories like, I don't know, like Oprah's been a big influence of mine, that Cinderella type story of how she was this poor child who nobody believed in, and they all told her she was you're just going to be a maid like your mom, you should learn how to do laundry. And she's like, I'm not going to learn how to fold laundry. I'm going to be something better than that. Like that kind of feeling of people who were put down, who are now rose out of the hardship. Those kinds of stories have been a super big influence for me.
Ordinary women sharing their extraordinary stories.
Yeah, they're people who just, they didn't take no for an answer. They didn't, they kept getting back up again. And, there was a part of me that never wanted to be in business again after that happened, honestly. Like, I was just like, this is...
How can people do this, Yeah,
that was part of it. It was like, I trusted people. I trusted this person. And how could they have done that to me, right? So, yeah.
So when do you feel at your most confident?
Okay, this is going to be unusual for people, but honestly, it's when I walk up on stage.
Oh, that's walking up on stage.
Walking up, because it's like I'm I like that. I like that feeling. I do feel super confident in it. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm ready to present, and I've prepared. I'm always prepared, but I have that feeling of like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do, and I'm out and doing it, right? So that.
So how do you help people? Most people are like that would be like the worst moment of their life, walking up on stage in front of 100.
I'm unusual. I totally admit that, right? Yeah.
So how do you help people with that?
Well, a lot of times, Bridget, it's because they want to so badly. That's why they've hired me, right? And whether they may not want to at one level, like they're afraid, okay? But inside them is something that's burning to be told. So that if I can connect to that part that really wants to be heard, that has a message to get out, that can help, right? It helps them to kind of, okay, whatever. The other thing that I really strive for is a feeling of non-judgment. Is a feeling of non-judgment. So if I'm at all involved in the event itself of where, sometimes they're going out and speaking and I have nothing to do with it. They've got their own gig set up. But if they're at one of my events, for example, or anything that I'm kind of helping them with, the environment's very important to me. Like I create a feeling of, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like it's okay if you stumble around, if you forget your word, if you, and I coach them. I say, you know what, if you're not confident, have a piece of paper in front of you with an outline of your, like you don't have to walk up and be the big polished, Tony Robbins, right? Like it's okay to stumble. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to do whatever you need to do. Now I teach them professionalism and a certain amount of, you've got to be connected with the audience and all this. You've got to be ready to tell the story, all those kind of things. But the bottom line, when you actually get up there, don't judge yourself and don't,
be genuine.
Yeah.
People can feel it. I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of speakers, and many were their first time and many were quite good speakers.
Yeah.
Well, those that it's their first time and they are stumbling and people can feel how hard it is, but the story comes from deep inside. The connection is incredible.
It's incredible, and it doesn't matter if they're not super polished, right? It just get out there. And I mean, that's why I chose that story, because it was about me not having a voice, right? And for people that if you've felt you don't have one, speaking up is sort of super helpful. It's going to just expand your horizons all over the place, right?
What was your worst screw up on stage? Because you always got to look at that, because those are fun.
Oh, well, I've had all sorts of technical issues that everybody has. I've had all kinds of those types of things. I don't know. I farted on stage one time. I don't know if that counts. Right?
I think that would count. But so, like, how do people, like, for some people, they would just freeze.
Oh, you know what? I just pretended it didn't happen. I just shuffle your feet a little bit, pretended it was some other noise from somewhere else, right? Just went on with the show, right?
Oh, like, you are good.
Like, whatever. Let's keep going.
So, what are you doing right now with your life and work? And because we got a bit of a partnership happening, you and I.
Yes. So I am launching Women Talk Vancouver. So it's going to be starting in Vancouver, and the plan is to move out into the suburbs as well over time. This February 2018. So yes, going to be hosting those events. Super excited about that. So it's Women Talk Vancouver. You could look us up on Facebook or through the Women Talk website. We're going to be running that. And I'm also running my company. It's called Be a Better Story. So you can look it up at beabetterstory.com. And
what's Be a Better Story? Like
Be a Better Story. It's speech writing and presentation design is our primary.
Presentation design. What does that mean?
Well, it's kind of similar to speech writing, but it's more like a speech. When I say speech, people imagine one person walking up to a mic and just talking, just speaking, right? When I say presentation, that kind of is a bit more formal. It's like, what are the slides? That could be a bit more corporate, a bit more. I use both terms because there's a subtle difference between, like a lot of times a speech will have a few slides up there too, but it's essentially a lot of storytelling, a lot of little inspirational speeches, those kind of things. Whereas a presentation could be anything from, a safety presentation in a business meeting, right? But they still need to be well designed. They still need to have a beginning and an end, and
they need to have a story. That's one of my pet peeves, by the way, is people vomiting information.
Yeah. I always laugh about the agenda slide where there's 20 different things that they're going to talk about. It's all, you're squinting to try to read it. Like,
boring.
Yes. And one of the things I talk about is you got to get rid of the boring bullet points. You got to, the corporate 1990s are over. You've got to be engaging. Like even on people do business presentations all day, every day, right? But get a little better at it. Like get a little, like if you're trying to tell people that, whatever, the safety code is important. You don't stand up there and say, well, the safety code for number 105 is important because of, it's like, no, you got to tell people like, hey, there's a story behind this. This is how it came about. This is why it's important. This is the story of what could happen if you don't follow this. And, that leads me to my next one. It's got to flow. Like, it's just, I've studied this stuff for years. And, I could nerd out on it, but it's like, it can make a big difference for not only getting your goals achieved, but also just your own career. If you're a better presenter, your the atmosphere in the workplace, because people kind of understand why they're all telling the same story. They're all going in the same direction because they kind of get it now. So
you help people now. So if people want to find you and ask questions or see how you can help them, where do they find you?
Well, it's beabetterstory.com. And if they do have a serious presentation they want to put together or speech or something, they can go to beabetterstory.com/meetwithdiane. And that will directly, they can fill out a form and come and talk to me one-on-one if that's something they're serious about. So it's beabetterstory.com/meetwithdiane.
Oh, they can come, if they're women, they can come to Women Talk in Vancouver and meet you.
Yes, absolutely. In Vancouver, it's going to be February 2018. If you're listening to this later than that, it's going to go ongoing. So just look up Women Talk Vancouver. I'm there at every event and would love to meet you. And if you want to talk, right, if you want to come up if you're in the Vancouver area and you have this urge to get out and tell a story, then go to the Women Talk website.
And no experience necessary.
No experience necessary. Absolutely.
Everybody has a story.
Yes. One of the things I love about it, like we talked about, we're looking for genuine people who just want to get up and talk.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Diane. beabetterstory.com is where we find you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
If you have a burning desire to share your story with our audience, apply to be on our podcast. To apply and find a full list of our podcasts, go to www.womentalk.ca.